The one thing I wanted to talk about today in relation to your business and how you actually scale is really documenting what you're doing. And I mean, truly documenting what you're doing. So some people will call it creating a standard operating procedures. Some people will call it just documentation. Some people are just going to say, hey, write things down. And that's okay. But if you go into any part of your business and document what you're doing, whether you are writing things down or you're shooting a video on how you're performing a certain task, and I'll give you some suggestions on tasks here shortly, you are going to find yourself be so much more efficient. You're going to find yourself being much more, beyond efficiency. You're going to save yourself a lot of money in lost time. And as you're growing, as you're scaling, you're going to be able to add team members, whether it's internal or external, a lot faster. And I'll go through a real life example to show you. That way you kind of see where I'm coming from. Now, one of the questions that comes up more often than not is, well, where do I document that? Or what do I use to create my standard operating procedures? Well, the correct answer is whatever you're using, that's going to be fine. Whether you find you're writing everything down preferable for you, if you're a Google Sheets type of person, or if you're a Google Docs type of person, or a Microsoft Word type of person, that's fine as well. But really what I want you to investigate are workflow management systems. They're called different things. So we're talking Trello, we're talking Asana, we're talking Monday.com. But my preference, if you want my personal preference at this point in time, I use Notion. Notion. It's absolutely free to use. You can put documents on there. You can create videos and upload them directly. You can throw up images up there. You can write notes in there. It's a platform that I'm using. Again, and the benefit of a Zoom is that I get to show you in these masterminds exactly what I'm talking about. So, well, I'll go through first all of the points, and then I'll give you the real life workflow. But basically, this is what I use for all of my everything, for my entire business, whether it's a services business that I am bringing on new clients, or working with my internal real estate team, or my expansion group. Everything goes through Notion. And again, it's very simple. Again, the concept here is documenting what you're doing. That way, I only have to do the task once, and a week later, I can come back and reference whatever I did. So if I'm, let's say, learning how to upload a video on YouTube as an example, and I want to make sure that I have all of my steps down, the thumbnail, the title, the description, the tags, the playlist, the end screens, the everything, I just create a little standard operating procedure for myself so I don't forget anything when I come back to it, or one of my internal team members does that. Now, for what that looks like through a real estate lens, you're really looking at three parts of your business that you can that you should segment and document: acquiring the business, converting the business, and scaling the business. So acquiring the business, this means creating a document, creating a standard operating procedure, recording how you are doing your marketing. What's your marketing plan? What organic strategies are you using? What paid strategies are you using? What budget do you have? What social media platforms are you leveraging? So when you're looking at the acquisition strategy for you, this lets you know visually what you're doing. And again, it makes it much easier for you to do down the road, along with when you're adding additional team members, it makes it so much simpler. Now, converting the business, this means that you are creating operating procedures for the client journey that you're giving your client. So what's the intake form? What questions are you going to ask them? Are you going to provide a questionnaire so you have their entire profile completed rather than you filling it out for them? What forms do you have to have them execute, what contracts, what addendums, what are required by the state, which ones are required by your brokerage. Having everything documented is going to save you, again, so much time yourself when you come back to it later on, or when you introduce an additional team member, so they know what's expected, when it's expected, and how it's expected. Is this making sense? I'll go through a real life example, and you're going to, don't freak out, because I know it looks messy, but there's a method to this madness. Scaling the business. Again, we're talking about real estate. As you're documenting, the three categories that you're looking at are acquiring the business. How am I generating my business? Converting the business. How am I going to service the business? How am I going to convert and service? And how am I going to scale the business? How can I get myself out of the day-to-day? Or if I have to stay in the day-to-day for whatever reason, how can I optimize my time? But when you're scaling the business, we're typically talking about growth. This could mean getting buyer's agents. This could mean getting assistants. This could mean whatever. When you're scaling your business, that is going to be the difference between you remaining a solopreneur or a business owner. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just know that that's going to be the difference. So I'm going to share my screen so you get an example of what I'm talking about. And I'm using this very mastermind as a example, because if you've come several times, hopefully you have, we're going to do this again next Tuesday. You've heard me say the exact same things at the beginning. And here's exactly what I'm doing. So you've probably seen me toggle back and forth. So this is our buyer's mastermind SOP for us. So this is in our hub. So our internal hub for my group, my real estate group. My internal team has access to this. The external real estate group has access to this. And this is what I follow. So this is kind of like my little script. You heard me welcome you. You've heard me talk about the masterminds open to everyone. You've heard me talk about positive, actionable value, blah, blah, blah. And now we're here. We're on the 15 minutes. So I got to wrap this up very quickly. Talking about the one thing. And anyway, so the rest is kind of self-explanatory. But after we get through, we're going to upload this to the YouTube channel. And I have instructions on how to do that, because that's not something that I manage. That's actually one of our internal team members takes care of that for us. And then we also do some repurposing. So I also have the standard operating procedure on how that's done. Right. So I have very specific instructions on how I want things titled, how I want things cut, how I want things laid out. So I think right now we have 2 team members that take the after this is through and make it they'll store it. So another person will actually the same person will repurpose it. And then we have somebody else creating this into a blog. But anyway, we have the mastermind schedule laid out on what we're going to cover. So today we're talking about scaling our business. So you see, we have acquisition, converting, and scaling. Now, this is my blueprint. This is what I'm using to convey what I'm trying to convey to you today, which is document, make sure that you have everything written down. I gave my pitch about Notion, and then I made sure to cover acquiring, converting, and scaling. Very much the same thing for your business. So let me unshare real quick and get to another thing that's going to be more applicable for you. Real estate transactions. Now, I don't want to share any sensitive information here, so I'll kind of limit what I share there. But just so you know what I'm talking about with real estate transactions, as I'm bringing on additional team members, there's some additional training that I require when we're signing up our clients. So going back to how we service our clients, the acquisition, everything is written up there. How we write up our offers, things that we care about, things that we don't care about as much. How we formally accept offers and what we do thereafter, and what we're doing internally while we're in contract. So some elements that we include are following up on certain days with certain messages, with certain templates, That way, whether it's me sending that email or one of my internal members sending that email or one of my real estate agents sending that email, everything is concise and everything looks like it's coming from the same source. Does that make sense? So if you do this, not only are you going to save yourself a ton of time, which ultimately this time is something you can use in recreation to recharge or go out there and focus on making more money. Either way, that's your business, that's your prerogative. But at the bare minimum, it's going to save you time. As you're growing, it's going to allow you to integrate other team members, whether internal or external, in your business much faster.